Ya shatarudriyamadhite sogniputo bhavati surapanat puto bhavati brahmahatyat puto bhavati krityaat puto bhavati tasmad vimuktamashrito bhavati atyashrami sarvada sakridva japet ya shatarudriyamadhite sogniputo bhavati surapanat puto bhavati brahmahatyat puto bhavati krityaat puto bhavati tasmad vimuktamashrito bhavati atyashrami sarvada sakridva jape yaha he whoever, no conditions, anyone, it could be any one of us, do what? Absorbs shatarudriya. Shatarudriya refers to the shata means 100, the 100 verses on Lord Shiva which appear in the Yajurveda. So referring to a certain text of Vedic literature. Not that he is preferring this text over the other texts. He could very well say, read my Upanishad, he could have said. He didn't say that. He just said a specific text. One who absorbs Shatarudriya is purified Agniputa Bhavati. He becomes purified by fire. Surapanat. Purified by drinking intoxicants. Brahmahatyat. Putaha. Putaha means purified. Purified of killing a Brahmana. Krityat putaha. Purified of commission and omission. Tasmat. Therefore, one should strive to become ever liberated. Avimuktam. In fact, the actual word avimukta means never not liberated. I'll explain that. The word avimuktam means never not liberated. This is the intentional usage of such language. He who is of the highest order of life, atyashrami sarvada sakritva jape. He who is of the highest order of life should chant it always or even once. Shatarudriya. Even if you chant once is good enough. You don't have to chant through your whole life if you have absorbed it. Okay. Now, the last two mantras are intentionally kept in another section, which is a part 2. Part 1 contained the 23 mantras. Last two mantras of the text, coming to the conclusion of the text, are intentionally kept in another part. The intention of perhaps possible intention of keeping them in a separate part is to draw out the message and draw the seeker's attention to it. Just to give you a little break, otherwise there could be a monotony. Okay, so as I've said, the Shatarudriya, the 100 verses of Lord Shiva, on Lord Shiva, which appear in Yajurveda, symbolizes the deeper philosophy of Vedanta. It's not a preferential text. It could be any text. In fact, even in Bhajagovindam, if you remember, which verse, Vijayji?
Guruji, you're asking difficult questions. It's towards the end, that's all I remember.
You got that very right. In the 27th verse of Bhaj Govindam, where he takes a reference to, what does it take reference to? He says,
No.
see, Lord Adi Shankaracharya could also refer to Shatrudriya, but he says you chant the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. Isn't it? The verse is Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Dhyayam Shripati Rupamajasram Neyam Sajjana Sanghe Chetam Deyam Dinaja Naya Chavetam. The 27th verse of Bhaja Govindam, where he says Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Either you read the Gita or the 1,000 verses, 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. Now again, so you get these kind of references in the Shastras, not that it's a specific text of an importance of one over the other. It's any philosophical text of Vedantic study. Now where is the accent? Vijayji, where is the accent? Obviously not on the text, but on
devotion and chanting.
Is the accent on devotion and chanting, sir? It is not on what text you pick up. It could be any text. But is it on the chant or devotion? Is that being highlighted here? What's the highlight here? Gayatrima, just for Vijayji's help, can you put that translation again? The moment you read the first few words of the translation, you get the answer, sir. Yes, sir. Where lies the accent, Vijayji?
I think the accent lies in removing self. I mean, self as it is known, and then trying to become one with the Brahma.
So that's the outcome, isn't it? The accent, sir, is in the very third word. He who absorbs, adhite. One who absorbs Shatarudriya. Yeah, Shatarudriya madhite. Adhite means one who absorbs, which is the quintessence of Shatarudriya. When you say you absorb, you are absorbing not the words and the meanings, but the quintessence of that, the spirit that the words convey. And in order to absorb the quintessence of Vedanta, what do we need to do?
It's not required if you do it once or do it many times, but the most important thing is that you should absorb.
Correct. You may have uttered it once, or you may utter it raha raha again and again, as in Dhyana Shlokas, we hear the word there. But the objective is to absorb. Now, how does one absorb the quintessence of Vedanta? Okay, Vijayji, I leave it at that. Vasantama, how does one absorb the quintessence of Vedanta?
By the three yogas. Through knowledge.
Three yogas is not the right thought. How do you absorb the quintessence of any textbook?
Reflection.
Through study and reflection, through manana. Not by merely memorizing these verses. There are many groups that gather and just mutter, merely parrot. They go home to home, door to door to sing this text, that text, Sahasranam going on, this chanting going on, Lalita Sahasranam going on, that Bhaju Govindam going on, this Atma Bodha going on, that going on. So many people are sitting and chanting. That is of no use. Merely muttering is of no use, isn't it? It's not to merely memorize the text. It is to absorb the quintessence of the text. So difference between Shravana and Manana leading up to Nididhyasana. So even in the concluding part of the Upanishad, the Guru lays emphasis on Manana. So if you don't absorb the quintessence, no use. And one who is absorbed, he is purified, he gives by 4 aspects. You're purified by fire, just like the fire consumes darkness, the knowledge of fire consumes, dispels ignorance. Purified by drinking intoxicants. Means you may lead an indulgent life. You are also purified of the life of indulgence. The worst crime you can perform is Brahmahatya Putaha. Putaha is again purified of Brahmahatya, of killing a Brahmin. Even that you are purified. Purified of commission and omission. Commission and omission means whatever you choose to do and whatever you don't choose to do. You may want to live a life in a particular way. You may choose to do certain things. In fact, now here we are talking about a Brahmana, killing a Brahmana. Setuji, in the Bhagavad Gita, what does Lord Krishna advise Arjuna? And he says there's nothing wrong in doing that. In the context of killing a Brahmana, you got the question, sir?
Yeah. Dronacharya, his own guru.
Arjuna was emotional about killing his own guru, and Lord says, go ahead and kill. And in the end of it, he said, you will not commit any sin because you're doing your dharma for establishing dharma. You're doing your duty to establish righteousness. And if your guru comes an impediment between you and establishing dharma, please do so. Go and kill. And that's the whole advice the whole Bhagavad Gita gave to Arjuna, isn't it? So if you find this out of context, you will find there are enough relevances there as well, where you are given a license to go and even kill your guru. But don't do that. But
by
just
that time,
for
Arjuna should have absorbed this, the whole thing, na, Guruji. Yeah, whether after absorption only he can do.
it took, that's why 18 chapters, no? Otherwise, he would have said 1 chapter and he would have finished it. That much of avidya he had. At least the 18 chapters of philosophy helped him to get over the delusive state he was in. See, he was clouded in delusion. His mind was confused. He got enough clarity to fight the battle. That's all. Whether he embarked on the spiritual path, no. It brought him the clarity to fight the battle. He fought, he came out victorious. It served the purpose. But Arjuna was not an Upanishadic student. He did not seek this wisdom like an Upanishadic student does. But the advice is in parallel lines as we get here, that so what do we get here? Action by itself is neither virtuous nor vicious. The concept that we learn independently. Your action is neither right or wrong per se. So even killing a Brahmana or consuming intoxicants, or you choose to perform certain actions in life, you choose to do certain things, all of it is pardon to whom? To one who has absorbed Shatarudriya. That's the clause. If you have not absorbed, please don't try to do this. Understood?
Like parallelly, we can say a soldier killing his own commandant when he finds a commandant has become a traitor.
Yes,
When he-
you can say so. In the largest interest of the nation, if he has to kill his own commandant, he will do that. He has to do that. But if you don't put the clause, then it gives us a license to do whatever we want. There's a danger. Isn't it, sir?
Yeah.
So we took the example of Lord Dattatreya last week, isn't it? One Lord where the 4 dogs follow him symbolizes the Vedas giving a license to whatever path, whatever life he led, wherever he went, the dogs followed him. Means you have the license of the scriptural ordinance. The scriptures sanction whatever a man of perfection does. So we also have the concept that whenever you find these great men living diverse lives after realization, why is it that they live a unique life to themselves? Is because of their prarabdha vasanas. If you please remember the concept we have discussed some time ago. A man of realization lives a particular life unique to his nature after realization, post-realization. They don't choose to live that life, but they end up living that life because of their prarabdha vasanas, the vasanas which are acquired at birth. So that's the initial acquired velocity. So they live a life until that vasanas are ended, then they attain samadhi. So there is a lifespan a realized soul can live from realization to attaining samadhi. Realization is death of
ego.
the ego. Samadhi is the death of the individuality, or death of the physical body, you can say. So between the death of the ego and death of the individual, there's a lifespan a man of realization lives. And that life is very unique to the vasanas he is born with. He has no choice. He just lives that life. So if you find a Mahatma in intoxicants, so be it. Therefore, that's the reason we have said, don't follow the lifestyle of gurus. Don't do what a guru does. Do what a guru says or teaches. So there's a danger. So we don't have to follow their action, but he's only giving us the concept that action by itself is neutral. And having attained that, it doesn't matter. Yeah, Vijayji?
Guruji, I was thinking about this killing a Brahmin. Why is it considered a very big sin? You know, why is it shown as a major example in terms of as a bad, thing? Perhaps is that a true Brahmin of those days, at least, stood for knowledge, stood for not doing anything wrong, that is being good, and also usually defenseless. They're not offending kind of a thing, not maritime kind of a personality. So killing a person would always be an act of aggression and wrong, and not as a part of obligatory duty or defense. So is it perhaps that's why it's given as a sin?
I really like that when you said a Brahmana doesn't hold on to weapons of destruction. They are defenseless because they are of a predominantly sattvic nature. In fact, a Brahmana is a custodian of his knowledge. So not only this knowledge, and also the custodians are worshipped. You seek their blessings rather than using arms or weapon on them. So considering that you have placed them on such a high pedestal, being of not because they're born into a particular lineage, it's because of the precedence of the sattva.
Yeah.
They are highly evolved beings. So you adore or respect them. So because you have put them at a pedestal where they have to be respected, killing of that is an atrocious act, is an act not acceptable. But as you said, it is perhaps those days a Brahmana is truly who lives up to that quality. Today, I have known Brahmanas eating red meat for breakfast. I've seen it myself happening. So what can you talk of it? So it is not by birth, as we understand, it's by guna, predominance of sattva. So your understanding is perfect, sir.
Basically, it's an unprovoked act of aggression on something precious, which has no business to be done.
So that's the reason I said, even if it's provoked, you please do it. Dronacharya.
Yeah, that's why I removed, I underlined the defenseless and unlikely to be offensive.
But the Guru was on opposite side. He was ready to shoot arrows at you. And that's the point Arjuna fell, isn't it? It's not that Dronacharya was sitting in the opposite army and say, I will be a witness to the war. No, he had his bow and arrow, was ready to fight to his king, who was Duryodhana. And that is when Arjuna got in a predicament and said, am I to fight against my Guru? I can fight against Drona, not my Guru. So if your Guru is at war at you, if you have to hold your ground, hold your ground. If it is for Dharma. So here the element of conscience is so profound that you cannot
Absolutely.
even an ounce, even a
Absolutely.
decimal of a thought cannot prick you. If you're 100% pure, and if I have to take, if I have to visualize me to act against my Guru, how certain I must be. And even if you do that, he says, you're pardoned. Because see how the conscience works is when you're true to yourself, then you're not false to anybody else. That's how the conscience, the principle of conscience works on this. This is a principle of conscience. When I am true to myself, then I'm not false to anybody else. So rather than me trying to live up to others' sake, let me live up to my own sake. That's the principle of conscience. Isn't it, sir?
The reason I was thinking, Guruji, about this is that, it's very often misinterpreted as, a higher caste person or somebody should not be hurt, which is not exactly standing for that. It's more for standing for the magnitude of unprovoked aggression and sin.
Yes, I think you can. You're right in saying that, because these men did not. They did not. They were not Kshatriyas. They did not wield weapons. So they were advisors. They gave knowledge and wisdom. Okay, right. So the best way to understand a life of a realized soul is like an autopilot mode. The aircrafts also, they're in autopilot mode, auto mode, So the pilot is not flying the aircraft. The aircraft flies on its own. It's almost gliding on its own without any supervision, any surveillance. It just inbuilt supervision, surveillance is there, but there's no external thing. So if there's something you can draw out of it, that they live a life on autopilot mode, means they are not doing anything on their own with a desire or a motive behind it. That just perhaps gives us an idea as to what that state is. And there's a little bit I would have to cover in this mantra and the concluding mantra of this text. I would like to do that perhaps when we come back next week, but we may not have enough text to for the entire satsang next week. But however, I had got this request from Hariji the recent past, and he has been very keen to have some kind of an open platform for any questions that can be clarified. So if we can leave the rest of the class open for any questions you have gathered along the course of not just this text, any other Vedantic study, feel free. We can leave the platform open for questions, and we'll finish the text, and then we'll get on to the questions. And following that, we will embark on the study of the Mundaka Upanishad. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.